Okay, thanks to the Python Colombia organization. Thanks to everyone here um, for being here. And hopefully today we will be talking about quality, crafting, and growing pains. It's a pleasure for me to be here. And let's move on. So, talking about quality and crafting, it's something that I really love because I feel and I think that there is always a way of doing things in the right way. And it is not easy. And hopefully, with this talk, I can invite some of you to try it. Like Carlos said, I try to do it at least twice in my startups. And right now, I work with that goal in mind, the goal of doing things in the right way. And I like to believe that my team feels every day the invitation of doing things in the right way. So before moving forward, quick introduction. Carlos already did it, but my name is Javier Mansilla. I live in Cordoba, Argentina. Those are my contact details. And I am right now working at Mercado Libre as a technical director. I lead the platform, the machine learning platform team, the user behavior tracking and A/B testing and feature flagging. Some of my teams work towards improving our developer experience, our open source program office, and community building inside the company. It's a lot of stuff, and there is a lot of more that it's not within my hands because we are a huge company. We are hiring, but this talk is not about that. This talk is not about Mercado Libre, but just a quick slide about them because we are a huge team. We have more than 10,000 employees on the IT area alone, building this entire ecosystem where we have tons of payments, shipments, credits, items sold in our marketplace, and all kind of stuff. So this talk is about doing the right thing in the technical teams, and this hopefully applies to small startups or big companies. So that's why I think that it was worth mentioning the scale we are working right now. So what is this talk about? This talk is mostly about doing things in the way we think is the right way, mostly in the technological aspects. Sometimes we feel that what we are doing is not the right thing. We feel that we were told that something else was needed to be done while we were in college, while we were learning about computer science. We learned some stuff, and later on, while working at some company, we start to feel that things are not moving in the way we would like. So this talk is about how can we move things to the place where we would like to be in terms of professionalism, crafting, quality. I really like the word crafting because I think that involves know-how, it involves do it with our hands, but mostly it involves passion and a love for what we are doing. So this talk is about not only the having clear what is the right thing to do, but also to have a diagnosis of what we are doing right now in our team, in our company. Which are the things that are not very like the way we were like to be doing right now. So with those two things, we can trace a route, draw a map. So hopefully we can cover that gap, reduce that gap, move from the point where we are right now to the goal where we feel that we are growing as a professional. We individually are growing, and everyone in the team and in the company feels that they are learning and enjoying their work and feeling proud of what we are doing. So as I previously mentioned, this is something that I led in a startup. It worked for a team of initially maybe 40 people. It ended up for about 70 people in my startup, but it can also apply in very big companies. Um, in Mercado Libre, it is something that I already said, we are 10,000 employees. By no means all of them are using these tools, but in some way, I think that it's possible to reach that big teams. So this is a set of tools that it can help to teams of maybe a couple of persons, a team of 2 or 3 devs, or maybe hundreds of them. So, in general speaking, I moved fast to this point. So, this talk is about doing things in the right way. So, the first question that needs to be answered is, what is the right thing to do? I mean, all this talk is about Python, it's about technology, not that much in Python. I've been in the Python community for the last 18 years, as Carlos mentioned. I think that this is the third time that I am in a Colombian event. I am part of the Argentinian community, and I like a lot to give talks in conferences. None of my talks it's about Python itself. None of my talks is about a library or a piece of code. I like to think about building teams, building processes, culture, and stuff like that. So, in terms of having a development team trying to do their best, the question to be answered is, what is the right thing to do? And if this were a live talk, I will be asking you in the audience, which is what you think that is obvious in terms of doing things in the right way. Last time I gave this talk, one guy said, okay, having a clear architecture of our system. And another girl said, having clear testing policies. And I think that those are the kind of things that I wouldn't say that are obvious, but at least the question is obvious. If we are talking about quality in a development team, these are the kind of things that may start to emerge. I do tons of interviews for engineers on my teams, and every time I ask what is quality for you, most of the people start to talk about testing or code review or documentation. No, not that much people, but some of them talk about documentation. Having a clear development process, maybe they may start talking about continuous integration or things like that. These questions, as I said, do not have an obvious answer, but most of the teams would like to have time for having a good testing base, having time for doing code review or doing documentation so the architecture is clear and every new people joining the team can have a good understanding by reading that documentation and that kind of stuff. So again, this talk was about how can we put things in place so we can do the right thing and we can feel proud of what we are building. So this may be the first obvious things, but later on you start to finding some other questions that are not that easy to answer. Maybe you start to need thinking about what is the decision-making process of my team. If we have several options for a given requirement, are we deciding based in our guts or data-driven? Are we taking technical debt? Is it okay to take the technical debt? How much? Shall we register that technical debt somehow, some way? Shall we tackle that technical debt? When? I don't know. Shall we be using cutting edge technology? Shall we be rewriting our front end in the latest view, or I don't know what is the newest front end framework? Or we shall be still user our love and beloved Angular JS that it's been on the team for the last several years? I don't know. There is no clear answer for these questions. And most of the times, these questions, the answer for these questions depends on the team, depends on the organization, depends on the moment of that team, on that organization. So again, there are other questions that start to emerge. How shall we put a voice to other folks on our company? What's the opinion of the human resources area? Shall we be, what is the right thing to do regarding hiring people? Well, I don't know. The reality is that most of the times these complex questions do not have an obvious answer. So the first thing that in my experience is very useful and very important for having a clear environment, a sane environment where we feel that we are doing the right thing, is to have a clear understanding of who is deciding the right thing, who is making the decisions, and which are the decisions that are made by whom. Decisions can be all made by the CEO or maybe the CTO, or maybe the decisions are built bottom up. We are all the devs on each team deciding what is the best thing to do in terms of what I just said: documentation, testing, data-driven decision, and so on. Whoever it is, it is a very good first step to have it clear who is making that decision. And after that, the next very valuable step is to have that person or that group of persons making those decisions and registering them. Those decisions can be very, very, very detailed or can be very vague. Maybe the decisions are very high level in terms of we would like to have data-driven decisions, we would like to have good code quality standards, and we would like to have user first. User first is not the team first, it's the user first. Okay, that's our just boundaries. They are just high-level rules, which I think, in my experience, that are very valuable, because those kind of ideas helps a lot in our daily basis to make trade-offs, to decide what to do now and what to postpone. So maybe your decisions are just that, high level. And maybe your decisions are not that high level and are very detailed, and we are saying that our code quality means that every line needs to be shorter than 100 characters, and we are using black, and we are using this and this and this. I don't know. Again, it depends on the team, on the skills of the team, and the needs of the team. But whatever it is in terms of having a culture where you feel that you are doing the right thing. You need to make those decisions and register it. I'll be drinking some mate. I said I am Argentinian, so instead of water, I have some mate. We have in place some kind of decisions right now that somehow define our vision. Maybe those decisions just reflect the way we would like to be working, but not the way we are working right now. That's why in the past, in my startup, we declare that these kind of decisions, these definitions, what I was saying, registering this was kind of a vision, the company vision regarding technological aspects. It's not what we are doing right now, it's our vision. So the first step in terms of doing things in the right way, I think I think that it is having a clear vision of what is the right way. So that's awesome. We have really clear what is the right things to do in our company. Now, how can we achieve moving from what we are doing right now to the desired place? So, generally speaking, I think that in order to do that, we need to have three pillars very well established. We need to have somehow some development process that enables conversations, that enables ways of people discussing about what they are doing, and that process it's built after we decided what is the best way of what is the technological vision. After that, we need to have clear space for building agreements, for discussing what we are doing, and for decide or for changing our minds if we feel that what we are doing right now it's not what we would like to be doing. And as a third pillar, we need to have some ways of measuring. Some ways of measuring if we are having good coding quality or not. Some ways of measuring if we are having good documentation, if we are having an efficient infrastructure. Some ways of deciding if we are really user focused or not. It depends on what you put on your vision. You need to have some ways of measuring if you are closer or farther to that vision. If you have those three pillars in place, hopefully I can teach you, I can show you what we did and what can work, what works at least for us in terms of moving everything. After having these three pillars in place, the next thing to do is to forge alliances, because most of the times a development team it doesn't live in the air. It doesn't work just alone. Some of the time that team needs to interact with another team. That team needs to interact with I don't know, commercial folks or with customers or with the CTO or I don't know. So you have your vision of your definition of what is doing things in the right way, but maybe that definition it doesn't fit with the company culture. So in terms of having a culture which allows working in the right way, you need to gather some allies and negotiate sometimes with other stakeholders of your company or your organization, so you can adapt a bit some of the places of your vision in terms of having a flexible or structured way of defining requirements or defining the technological aspects of your software. So it is easier to not to flow and not being every day crashing each other with your stakeholders. This is a small gag. Actually, those hands are the Mercado Libre's logo, but move on. So you need the three pillars, you need the alliances, and last but not least, you need to make it a habit. To make your to transform your team in a way that you feel that you are doing the right way. It is not magic. It doesn't happen spontaneously. It needs some investment. It needs some leadership. And the leadership is not only the CEO, it's not only the CTO, it's not only the technical leader. I believe that the leadership comes from everyone in a team. So there are some things that need to be repeated day after day, week after week, and some conversations and some questions that need to be asked regularly in terms of starting to decipher what we need to do differently in order to move to the place we would like to be doing. So from the beginning to here, I try to give you a glimpse of the ideas. From now on, I would like to show you how these ideas how we put these ideas in place in some real life cases. So let's talk about what we did in a startup, because maybe you are kind of following me but thinking, yeah, do it, but it's very abstract what you are saying. I don't get it. How can that be done? So in the startup, Carlos mentioned Maquinalis that got acquired by Mercado Libre. We were about 40 people when we started doing this. And the reason that made us desire to create this tool was that we were growing a lot and we were having more than just one team. And it was really difficult for us to have a unified experience for everyone in our company. And we had very clear in our minds from the beginning of the startup that we wanted to do things in the right way, in the technological aspects, in the business aspects, in every aspect, but we wanted to be proud of our work. What we did in Maquinalis was to start chatting and discussing and asking to everyone in the team what is the right thing to do regarding technology in our company. So instead of just deciding from the CEO or CTO a fixed decision, we started by asking to the team, what is the right thing? What are the things that help you to feel that you are learning, helps you to feel that you are doing things in a way that you are proud? Which are the processes that help you to, I don't know, to sleep well, to join new girls on the team without having to have a lot of training, I don't know, all that kind of stuff. We discuss it with a lot of folks in the team. And after that, we had two things. We have, at one hand, we had the opinion and the ideas of the entire company, which was great, because doing this just from my own, I will be losing half of the insights. So I had the insights, I had the desires of the company, and I also had the reality check of what the company was doing right now. I had the diagnosis and also a set of ideas that the company was looking for. And when I say the company, I am talking about you, guys and girls. I'm talking about the people working at the company, not the leadership. So having that diagnosis, having that ideas, we created this kind of technological vision. And in that vision, it was that startup, and it is not something that it is something that it may not fit in other companies. In that vision, we declared that we needed to start working more and more on data-driven decisions, that we needed to focus on rotation. We thought that it was crucial for us to let everyone in any team to work in another team. We decided that we needed to have clear roles. We needed to have clear what does the technical leader do, what is the role of the project manager. We decided that we wanted to have good code quality. We decided that we needed some kind of rules for defining quality in projects and some other set of rules for defining quality in other projects, because we had some very mature projects and we had some MVP projects, and we didn't want to be wasting time on MVPs. on some ideas that were not important while you were validating an idea. So again, we interviewed the company, we created a diagnosis, we created a vision, and with all that together, we created eventually a roadmap, a path, a gap. We got a gap that we needed to close. So after that, what we did, we started to create a monthly meeting. A meeting. We already had meetings for each of the teams where the team was talking about what we call retrospective meetings. The team is asking themselves what we did great, what can be improved, and in those kind of meetings, we started to include some questions regarding the things that were put in our vision. So, if our vision was saying about something about data-driven decisions, in those retrospective meetings, we started to include questions regarding this. Do you feel that as a team you are taking decisions, you are taking data-driven decisions, yes or no? Evaluate it from 1 to 10, how good you are. Do you feel that you are doing an efficient use of infrastructure? And maybe about 10, 12 questions like that. So the first thing we did actually was adding to our ceremonies of retrospectives a set of questions that the team was faced monthly or twice a month, and just that. And with that, we changed a lot of our culture, because the team was asking those questions, deciding how good or bad they felt about working towards their vision, how good they felt about having a good code quality or not. And having a set of answers every month, the team decided, okay, we have this measurement, we have we are this close or farther from our goal. What is the action item that we can do right now that can move us closer to our vision? So, for instance, if a given team was realizing that they would like to have more code reviews, they maybe just add that to the backlog to change our process of code reviews, so we are working closer to our ideal, month after month after month. The tooling for doing this was really simple. Really simple. We actually just used Google Forms, Google Meet. I am not doing advertising for them, but that is what we use. Just that, to prove the idea. And what we saw is that every team started to feel better. Every technical leader or project leader started to have some ideas shared between the other leaders of the company. And we started to, and suddenly started to emerge some new processes or some new rules or documents or micro tools that a good idea of one team started to be useful for every team. I don't know, for measuring the efficiency of the infrastructure, or maybe for measuring the technical debt, or maybe for deciding what is the best way of testing code. Given that we saw that things were working smooth, we moved forward. We created a small Django application. This is the only Python, the only Python reference, I think, in the entire talk. We did a Django application where we started to enrich our questions to our monthly meetings. Instead of just having a couple of questions, this is in Spanish, but I think that there's not that much to read in the screen. we gave to the teams this tool so they can start tracking, they can measure, as I said previously. And maybe if you see in this example, they were thinking that their code quality was very low, so they decided to put a 3 on that aspect. But they decided to put a 10 in the question regarding skills for the team. So they felt that as a team they had the skills needed for doing the job in this project, but they also felt that they were moving that fast that their coding was really low quality. So maybe as an action item in this opportunity, they decided to have a clear use of black or something like that. So the idea started to grow. Not only that, but later we moved it on, and it was just not just an open question about how do you feel about your code quality, but maybe some guidelines, which is what we did in this tool. Some guidelines. Hey, if you are doing this and this and this, it feels like your code quality maybe in this company is really good because you are taking care of the syntax, you are taking care of the, I don't know, this and this and that. But if you are not paying attention to this and this and that, maybe you should be. This is what other teams are doing in terms of having a really good code quality. Lately, when we put all this in place for several teams, we started to see that every team not only started to realize that they could improve, but they actually did. These are just two examples. In the chart of the left, there is an average of the measurements of several teams, which if you see from January to August, they all felt that they started to move up, they started to increase their skills or their accomplishment regarding the vision. They started to feel prouder of what were they doing. The chart on the right is just showing one of the aspects where we also saw that since we started moving forward, every team started to have a better understanding of our vision and started to improve also in that aspect. So, as a summary, that was what we did in a startup. And if the question is, okay, that's fine, but what needs to be done in a big company because it's not the same? My answer is that actually what needs to be done is mostly the same. Maybe you are not the CTO, and maybe you can just start small, just in your team. But in my experience, what we did and worked very well in a startup also worked very well in a big company, where hundreds of people used this framework. Not the entire company, but hundreds of people used this framework for improving their quality and their crafting. Hope you like it. There is some time for questions, so I'd be glad to answer some of them if I have the time. You have my contact details here. You can reach and talk. I'll be pleased to have your feedback. That's it. Thank you very much.